Hello, in this video I'm going to be looking at these two antique or vintage rotary dial phones. This one on the left is the Trimline number 220 hand telephone. It would have been manufactured between 1965 and 1984. This one on the right is a Model 500. It would have been manufactured between 1949 and 1986. At that time, these probably would have been leased to the owners of them. They wouldn't actually, or the users, they wouldn't actually own the phone, kind of like today. Some internet service providers will lease you your modem or router. You don't actually own it. These would have been leased, and the locks on them would have been purchased aftermarket. At that time, long-distance telephone calls were still expensive, and to prevent people from making long-distance calls, you might install a lock like one of these on your phone to prevent people from making calls. They're also used as like a punishment with like teenagers to prevent them from calling their friends. So we're going to be picking these open real quick and taking a look at them. So this first one we see here says U.S. Patent 3899647. Try to get that you can see it there. The lock itself says globe on each side. No other markings I see. Looks like maybe one retaining pin right there on the top. The metal plate itself, it looks like you could take a pair of pliers and bend this metal right here to remove the metal without picking the lock, and when you're done making the call, you could probably take those pliers and bend that metal, reattach everything. However, the lock itself only has one pin in it, so we can open it pretty quickly. We can just stick a pick in there, a little light jiggling, and turn it open. That again real quick. See, it opens pretty quick. When I was looking online, there were some comments about people opening these with a pair of scissors, and I think if you had a scissors small enough, that sounds about right. That would be the hardest part, is getting scissors small enough, maybe from a manicure kit or something, they would fit. You can see here, then you would be able to dial the telephone number. The way these worked is they would interrupt the power going to, I guess, a switchboard. Actually, I'm not sure if it would be a switchboard or if you'd have some sort of if you would still call it a switchboard if there was more processing it or not. I'm not sure what it looked like at the phone service provider's end. But each time you dialed, it would interrupt that power, the DC power line, and create a sort of pulse, like a digital signal. And that the amount of pulses corresponded to the number you dialed. So if you dialed a 9, you would get 9 pulses. If you dialed an 8, you'd get 8 pulses. And the width of those pulses is regulated by the governor regulating the speed at which this dial turns. However, it's my understanding people were able to tap dial that out. So even if this was locked, if you were skilled enough, you could dial the number out by hand. So looking at this Model 500, this one has 2 locks on it. Again, these are something people would buy aftermarket. They wouldn't be provided by the phone company. But there are 2 different locks here. These are both going to be wafer locks. And this one on the top actually locks down the button on that receiver, so you wouldn't be able to tap dial out with this one. This one, I'm just going to be raking these open using this little 3-peak, little wavy wake there, and on a 3-peak cycloid. Just light tension, little turning. You can see that opens pretty quick. On the back here, you can see there is a small disc. If I can get that to focus. There's a small disc here that rotates. And when it rotates, it lines up with this metal bar right here. And that sort of clamps down around the plastic here. So if it was an emergency and you really needed to, you could snap this off and still dial the number that you needed to. This one is manufactured by Ilco. It has 4 or 5 wafers in it. I'm not sure exactly how many. Let's see, lock that up pretty quick. This next one says it's made by Loxem, Loxem, and patent application for. This one works by having a sort of pawl that wraps around the handle on the back of the phone that prevents it from coming out. It is kind of wobbly the way it sits in there. We're doing the same thing with this one. Just using some light tension, sort of wobbling this. There we go. Let's see if there's any other markings on this. It looks like we've got some sort of part number on the back. 8032 102D1. It doesn't look like a patent number though. Yep. And that's all that is. See, it looks like there's some sort of pen that's tapped in the tapped in the back there. But it doesn't look like you'd be able to take that pin out with this lockdown. Yeah, I think that's it. All I've got on those. Thanks for watching.